Hello and welcome to a very special Construction Sport podcast with me and nobody. We're here today on my own because we've had a little bit of information through that we want to give full credit to, our time and respect to, and make sure it's done in a way it is productive and right. Over the past years, I've spoken heavily about the mental health in construction, suicides, but there's always been a side of me that really wants to highlight the dangers of the accidents and incidents that happen in construction and the links that these have with mental health in general. Accidents and incidents, or the riddles, whatever goes wrong on site usually comes down to human error. I think it's very, very hard to find something what isn't human error when you look in the detail, but I'm sure there is ways that can be separated. But everything I look at and I always think is if people's heads are in the right place mentally, the physical injuries should prevent themselves as well. If people are switched on, if people are enjoying the workplace, if people want to be there, if people aren't tired, if people haven't got stresses and pressure on their shoulders too much. I understand this industry and we all work better under a little bit of push, but there is a line. There's been a number of fatalities in construction over the years, of which over the past decades has dropped, and that is only with thanks to the likes of our health and safety teams across the industry and the rules and regs around PPE and all the safety equipment that has come in. It's very easy to say, there's so much red tape, or HSE or the health and safety side of business is killing it, but it speaks for itself with the amount of fatalities. Off the back of COVID, I think we see a little rise, but over the last 3 years, going back between 2022 and pretty much 2025, what has been reported by the HSE, I have in front of me. I have gone to the HSE under something that I learned about 8 weeks ago, the Freedom of Information request. I requested to receive, under the Freedom of Information Act 2000, the details with regards to fatalities in construction over 3 different years that have been released. So they were the most recent 3 years that have been put out there, and they range from the 1st of April 22 to the 31st of March 2023, of which there was 45 fatalities in the construction sector. On the 1st of April 2023 to the 31st of March 2024, there was 51. And the 1st of April, so it rose, but then at the 1st of April 2024 to the 31st of March 2025, it dropped to 35. Now, there's still a lot of people, but from 51 to 35, in terms of percentages, that's a big number that's come down. But still, 35 people being killed in the construction sector, going to work to perform a job innocently under the circumstances they are, is not acceptable in any way, shape or form, and it should not happen. So we are discussing this now, and this was planned already. However, just last night, I'm now at 10 o'clock in the morning, and just 12 hours ago, at 10 o'clock last night, I was informed of another fatality on a project in London with regards to a site, a mace project that is going on over there. And I believe the person's been crushed and killed, but HSE obviously will be investigating, and that will be it will come out eventually of what the situation is. However, what we are seeing in construction at the moment is that these fatalities aren't being reported on. We aren't going public with the information on them, the information that can help other companies and the industry as a whole learn. We need to learn from our mistakes. We need to reflect on what it is as an industry, not as individual companies, all together, collaboratively. These fatalities are happening across all different projects, all different sides of the industry, but we are all working under the same rules and regs in the construction sector, shall we say, and there's a lot of things that are still being pushed past and not being addressed. 3 of the main things we always say with mental health in construction, one being the accountability for how bad the situation is with regards to mental health and suicide, but also with regards to these fatalities now. But also not only that, but also with regards to program pressure and also the payment procedures. They've also been playing a big part. If people aren't being paid properly, they're not going to function properly. They can't focus on their job. They're pushing and pushing and pushing. We know it firsthand here. When you want to crack on with your job and get on with it, but you've got bills and payments to make, what you can't make because the other bills haven't been paid to you, it's very hard to focus. You can get distracted. And as we can see now, you can end up getting killed, unfortunately. There's a number of pieces of information with regards to this, but I've just pulled out a couple of the little side notes to it, and then I'll go through it. I'll go through it a little bit year on year and then give you a little breakdown of what that kind of looks like. In 2022 to 2023, so April 22 to 31st of March 23, when we saw 45 deaths across the construction sector. These all range from, looking at the categories, high falls of over 2, they categorise it as high falls over 2 metres. This categorised as a struck by an object, struck by a moving vehicle, trapped by something collapsing, high fall over 2 metres, struck by a moving vehicle, struck by object. A number of things there kind of fall in the same category. A low fall up to and including 2 metres. Falls from height, struck by moving vehicles, then another fall, height not known. That is also very different. A number of different things there, but they range from all parts of the UK. I've noticed on here, and the HSE's record, what I didn't realise they actually take into account is they've got the deaths of workers on site in Scotland as well. So this does include Scotland. There has been a number of them. One of the main things I picked up on as well was the age ranges between these. So these go across, that's 2022, the 2023 and 2024 and 2025, all of them combined are all, again, looking all over it. It's a real mixed situation between self-employed and employed, what's quite interesting. But our pie chart that we just pulled together as well, the number of fatalities per 127 incidents, and that's the 3 years that are combined, 40.9% of them were high falls of over 2 metres. High falls are predominantly the main one that's been doing it. In second, I say second place as if it's something worth winning, but it's not. People trapped by something collapsing. So they have something's trapped and collapsed someone, and then coming in pretty much in the third most occurring incident to take a life is people being struck by an object. So struck by a moving vehicle, struck by a moving vehicle is third, and the struck by an object is the second one. There's also, like I say, low falls. Contact with electricity is only 5.5%. I say only, it's too much. Falls of height unknown was 7.4%. So again, that falls in the high fall potential category. It's not yet known, so that could even make that one bigger. Struck against a fixed or stationary object, pink one there is 2.4%. And then injured by an animal, what is fucking unfortunate. I'm not too sure what the circumstances there. Could be a dog, or could be even, I don't know. I'm not going to go into that. That's irrelevant. Someone's lost their life at the end of the day. These have been going on, I say, all over the sector, and they're happening to all different people. But one of the things I noticed on there was the age ranges. Now, the guys have thankfully put it into little categories here for me so we can see it a little bit clearer. Looking at the age ranges per 127 total incidents, the most affected category of age are people in their 50s. At 30.7% of the fatalities that happened were people within the age bracket of 50 to 59. In the most common in second place is the age of 60 to 69. And then 8.7% of people aged 70 to 79. That stands out to me quite clearly from a bar chart as well, that we've got people aged 60 to 79 are making up a good part of 25% of the fatalities. They're people who would like to say should be focusing on retirement, but we know the construction sector doesn't work like that, and we are a lot of old boys, and the industry is covered in people who are older. Why? Because we haven't got enough youngsters coming through, as it's spoken about all the time. But when you take into account that you're looking at over 50% of them are all people over the age of 40, there is a real push on needing to get youngsters in the industry. And if we can get more youngsters in, we can get more support for these older people in the industry as well. They don't have maybe their services won't be pushed out, but they will be supported a bit more. And that could help bring that number down. people under 20, there's just only a small bar there. It's not actually got a percentage to it. Yeah, that's kind of where it is with it. We're going to make these documents public as well, in a way. We've got some rules and regs just from the HSE who have come to us with regards to it to pretty much say there's ways that we have to mark it and make it ensure everybody knows it's the HSE's documentation and not ours. And we haven't gone out and found out this. We've been issued this under the Data Protection Act. But another big piece of the pie in my head is, what are we doing for those people who have been affected by the events that they have seen on the construction site? We don't speak too much about it on a public domain as a construction sector, but we see it at Construction Sport with the amount of people that we speak to on a daily basis. When we ask, if you would put it's not the best way of doing it, I know, for obvious reasons, but if you put out a survey and said to the construction sector, have you been witness to or seen or know of a traumatic event, even know of, because that's intriguing enough, a traumatic event in construction that has happened, I would say near on 100% are going to say yes. It was only only a couple of months into my first ever time on site when a manager had his thumb hit with a hammer, and it looked like the back end of a Quentin Tarantino film. It wasn't pleasant, but I can understand it can be triggering for a few people if they were there to see it or witness it. It wasn't good, but that was my start of my construction career, I'd say 2 or 3 weeks in, seeing the difference between what hammer can do and can't with regards to people's thumbs. What are we doing as an industry? And emergency services use a process called TRIM, what is trauma risk management, and that has come out of the military and it's been adopted by the blue light services such as the ambulance, police and the fire brigade. Construction isn't actually doing anything apart from referring people to a helpline if they need help. There isn't really any processes. There's no media coverage of the likes of the fatality that happened just 3 days ago. And there also isn't any media coverage of another 3 or 4 fatalities in construction that have happened over the last few weeks. Why is this? When you look at the fire brigade, and I only compare to them, and this isn't, I'm taking a dig at the fire brigade, but there's no stretch. I want us to be like the fire brigade in a way of praising the people who need to be praised and giving the respect to the people who should be respected. There was 2 fire officers who lost their lives recently in the Midlands, I think around Oxford way, maybe Reading, the direction. Forgive me for not getting the location correct. But all I know, remembering off the top of my head with that one, was it made national press for a good few days. Now, I'm not saying we want national press all the time, but what I'm saying is that is the level of respect and they have as fire officers. It was a man and a lady. I think between the 2 of them, they both lost their lives. Why doesn't construction even report on its own fatalities, let alone mainstream media reporting on the fatalities? Now, I can only think from outside looking in that there's obviously some influence of the amount of money that's pumped into the media in construction is obviously linked to some of the biggest companies in construction. You can see that just with the amount of advertisement that goes in. And is it a clear case of don't shoot yourself in the foot as the person who's promoting the media? But I'm not literally saying they are or not, but from the outside looking in, it's just kind of what it looks like. Why don't we push on and promote this? We've seen a few fraudulent campaigns that have hit the national press over the last few months. They very quickly went quiet. And they always say, oh yeah, we can't say nothing because of investigations pending. Outside of construction, everybody is on that stuff. Everybody wants to know it. Everybody's promoting it, all these stories. Everyone's pushing it, making sure everyone's aware of what's going on, keeping people up to date. Keeping people up to date with this kind of stuff helps save lives in a way of, if I'm on a project, and look at what Network Rail do. I put a video out last week about it just on LinkedIn. But Network Rail will make everybody within the supply chain aware of via an alert to let them know that something has gone on in the construction sector, in the rail sector. They will let people know there's been an incident involving electricity, broken machinery. It could even just be a faulty bit of equipment, or anything that's just kind of has the potential to be a serious risk. It's a proactive way of looking at it instead of reactive. And they let the whole of the supply chain? No. And then as far as I'm aware, through projects I've been on, it's down to people who are all part of that supply chain to look evidence the ways that they have addressed it with their teams, whether they get services on machines that might need checking, or they've given toolbox talks to guys or briefed the guys on certain things to make them aware that they have acknowledged the alerts that have gone out. Construction does not do that. So by not doing that, we are endangering so many people. There was a guy recently killed in Essex. I won't go the details of it all because it's sensitive, but nothing hit the headlines, and it still hasn't to this day. There is nothing online about it. We are speaking to a few people in the background at the moment with regards to this, but nothing has been said on that. Now, that person was killed by a piece of plant / machinery, and from a faulty part of plant. Something's gone wrong with it. The fitter's got underneath it to repair it. It's come down, crushed him. Now, that may have been human error on what he's done. It may have been a technical fault, a manufacturer's fault. It could have been a piece of something on that machine isn't right. Now, that not being reported across the whole sector, and everyone not being made aware of that situation, or every fitter in the UK being made aware of the actions that that person took, what cost him his life, that has the risk to happen again if people aren't made aware. That operator, that fitter, has gone out and done something to a piece of machinery. It's killed him. And we know. We need to let the whole industry know that this has happened. Please get your fitters to be aware of this situation because it could kill them. At the moment, that alert hasn't gone out, and I'm likely going to have it go out with this podcast because we need to make people aware that these situations are killing people. And by not letting them know, we, construction sport especially, and also us as an industry, are failing when it comes to a duty of care. We need to make people aware that when things go wrong, especially with heavy plant and machinery, especially with heavy loading of materials, excavations, working at height, all these different things, they all come with risk, and that risk is so high, and the difference between life and death is literally a flick of a switch. It's so easily done, and I'm sure many people in construction have had close calls where you just go, whoa, and they probably laugh a little bit, and I've been there and go, geez, and it is a little bit, it's almost a natural reaction to laugh and go, wow, that was close. Anyway, moving on. But we've been there, we've seen a lot of stuff. I worked on Aldermaston. Our team worked at Aldermaston Atomic Weapons Establishment a few years back. We were off site a half hour before. The guy was struck by a concrete pump before that, and that killed him. It was a Balfour Beatty project. Nothing ever actually come of that day in terms of support for the welfare of the staff in the supply chain. We know that because technically we're in the supply chain. If anything, we were put on stand down for a number of weeks. We didn't even return to the job in the end, and we didn't even actually get fully paid either for the stand down time. So the what goes on within that supply chain when there's a major incident, I believe is completely wrong. It's faulty and I'm seeing it across multiple sides of the sector when there's injuries and when there's fatalities and when there's kind of tragedies in any way, shape or form. The way the supply chain are treated, it isn't quite right. But all we can do is keep on shouting this and raising it and creating these conversations around the industry to go, actually, I don't know everything and I don't know all the details to all these fatalities. But what we do know is that we are now gaining the right traction and the right support, and people are trusting us with just getting this message out to the industry. Because once we get the message out, people start to think, oh, actually, no, it isn't right, is it? And we've all been saying this in the office. We've all been saying this on site, but no one's raising it publicly. Well, guess what? Us, construction sport, and our construction industry alert system is now in place, and people can report things to us. We're not going to run around whistleblowing and everything. That's not the idea of this whatsoever. This is about getting alerts out there and making companies aware that something isn't right. I walked through London actually yesterday morning, and there was a sign hanging off of a piece of scaffolding. There was two clips literally holding it up, and one of the clips has come loose, and it was swinging above people's heads. Public were walking through the walkway of where the scaffold went over, and it was simple as an alert. Myself raised the alert from our end. I informed the company, because I know them, and just said, I can't reach it, but your guys are on site. I think I can hear them further up the scaffolding. Can you do it? And they come down and they've addressed it straight away. Little things like that. That sign could have fell down. It could have caught someone in the eye, hit him on the head. It did have severe corners to it. So it could have caused some problems. But if we don't raise these things, accidents happen. It's trying to be proactive. We work in a very reactive culture at the moment, and that is what we're seeing all the time. Now, there are so many things we can put it down to, and just how tight margins are in construction when we've got major construction companies working for 1 or 2%, and as soon as that 1 or 2% doesn't come in, they have the risk of going under very, very quickly. That echoes down the supply chain that are all delayed with their payments, that are echoed with guys on the ground who aren't certain whether they've got a job next week or not. It echoes across the whole sector in a way that the outcome of that and what is being spat out at the other end, I do believe plays a huge part in fatalities in construction and obviously suicide in construction. But we need to keep moving this forward to make sure that the people who are in power of this industry understand. I do believe they do understand. Whether they are doing anything about it proactively, we will have to wait for their communication channels to come out to say that. I'm not sure yet, but we will see. Nothing's been done in the last 10, 15, 20 years. And we've got a number of podcasts coming up actually through this month with individuals that are coming in to discuss some serious situations in construction and also some very important research and study that has gone on into the sector. But apart from that, we will be pushing on. If you would like access to these information that we've got with regards to the fatalities in construction and the details, we have them. We are going to make them public for everybody because we do believe that they can help the industry be aware and fix itself. But on that note, just a personal one from me, just to get this message across. If you've been affected by any of the stories or any of the messages that I'm putting on with regards to this data, if you want to know, or if you know someone within the sector and you want to just run it past us and say, was that even listed on there? Please let us know. I'm more than happy to discuss it. Like I say, we'll probably make this stuff all public as well. We're just going to check with the HSE how we do it and what is the right way of doing it in terms of legalities. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Take care of yourself and make sure you get home safely.